Kenya's foreign minister asks for help from its U.S. and European allies to prevent further massacres by Somali militants. Somalia has strong farming and livestock industries. So why is the country vulnerable to food insecurity? And upstaged by bees, President Obama's story time is rudely interrupted by unwelcome invaders. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Kenya's foreign minister is asking for help in its fight against terrorists. Amina Mohamed says her country wants the United States and others to provide more help to prevent future attacks like the massacre in Garissa. The East African nation has struggled to stem the flow of Al-Shabaab fighters and weapons across its 440-mile border with Somalia. The recent bloodshed has damaged Kenya's economy by scaring away tourists and investors. Mohamed says Kenya is looking at ways it can put up more border posts and improve surveillance along the frontier, an area where foreign allies may be able to help.
Improved capacity, improved surveillance, improved intelligence gathering, equipment and capacity. So we're looking at all that and just trying to see where the gaps are. Yeah? We're carrying out actually a gap analysis to see where we need additional support. And there are going to be many areas where we need additional support. We hope that we can actually continue relying on this support of our strongest allies.
Well, Mohamed also says Kenya plans to complete a list of radicalized young men in the next few weeks to determine the scale of the problem within its Muslim community, who make up about 10% of Kenya's 44 million people. Well, now turning to the crisis in Yemen, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter says that Al-Qaeda's branch in Yemen is taking advantage of fighting between Houthi rebels and pro-government forces to seize territory in the country. The nation has struggled for stability since its former leader was pushed from office in 2012. Carter told reporters Wednesday during a visit to Japan that the crisis in Yemen has made U.S. efforts to counter Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula more difficult and that such operations are easier when there is a stable government.
The terrorism threat to the West, including the United States from AQAP, is a long-standing and serious one. That one we will keep combating. We obviously will change the way we do that in accordance with the circumstances there. Obviously, we hope that order is restored to Yemen, not only for that reason, but because there's a lot of suffering going on in Yemen as these fluid battles and these different groups go back and forth.
Well, Carter also says the U.S. is providing Saudi Arabia with intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance information to help the coalition forces battling the Houthis. Now, the World Health Organization says that more than 540 people have been killed and 1,700 wounded in the fighting in Yemen over the past 3 weeks. Well, for more perspective on the situation in Yemen, we're joined by Nabil Khoury, a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Rafiki Hariri Center for the Middle East. He joins us live via Skype from Northwestern University in Boston. Mr. Khoury, first, what is your assessment of what is happening right now in Yemen?
Well, there's a lot of chaos, mayhem. There's a lot of damage occurring to the infrastructure all over Yemen, and civilians are threatened and civilian casualties are rising.
Now, what people wonder is, how did the situation get where it is today? I mean, virtually the Houthis have taken over the whole country, but they're being pounded hard by the Saudis. How did it get here?
Well, the Houthis have had a rebellion going against the government of Sana'a in the capital since 2004. Originally, their aims were limited to regional rights. They were concerned with local issues. These things could have been taken care of diplomatically, but instead a war went on from 2004 to 2010. And in 2009, the Saudis intervened to help the central government against the Houthis. After 2011, with the collapse of the government of Saleh, the previous president, there was a bit of a vacuum, a bit of lack of central authority, which the Houthis, feeling strengthened, took advantage of and marched on the capital. Once they took over the capital, they felt emboldened, they felt that they could take over the whole country, and they proceeded south and east of the capital, Sana'a. They have not taken over the whole country, but they have taken over large parts of it.
Now, at the moment as we speak, the Yemenis have sent their military closer there, at least the Navy. We know that the U.S. is sending help to Saudi Arabia in order to help fight the Houthi rebels. Who is fighting who, and what do you see as the end to this game?
Well, there have been many divisions and alliances and realliances, but essentially the Houthis, supported by the half of the military, which works with former President Saleh, these two forces together are fighting tribal forces against them in the east of Yemen. They're fighting popular militias in the south, specifically in Aden, and they are fighting this new coalition, but really the new coalition led by Saudi Arabia is not on the ground. They are pounding them from the air. The Houthis do not have any air resources to fight that war. So it's a rather complicated picture right now. Strategically, the airstrikes by Saudi Arabia and its allies are not making a big difference. In order to defeat the Houthis, you have to be on the ground, and on the ground it's much more difficult because the Houthis know their territory well, and they are good fighters on the ground. Ultimately, what is needed here is a diplomatic solution, not a military one.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. We'll definitely continue this conversation. Mr. Khoury, thank you for joining us today and offering your insights. Well, Nabil Khoury is a non-resident senior fellow for at the Atlantic Council, the Rafiki Hariri Center for the Middle East. We want to know now what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, Somalis still face food insecurity after 2 famines. We'll explain why after the break. Stay with us.
I am Shaka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international calling talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
Well, Iran's foreign minister is due to arrive in Pakistan Wednesday to discuss the conflict in Yemen, which many see as a fight for influence between regional rivals Iran and Saudi Arabia. VOA's Ayesha Tanzim has our report.
As Iran gets ready to possibly curb the weapons potential of its nuclear program, its regional rival Saudi Arabia watches closely. Over the years, one of the ways the Saudis tried to neutralize a potential Iranian threat was reportedly by looking towards their strategic ally, Pakistan. The South Asian country is in an unusual position. On one hand, it has sold nuclear secrets to Iran through a network run by former chief Pakistani nuclear scientist A.Q. Khan. But this was in the past, says nuclear physicist Abdul Hamid Nair.
The A.Q. Khan link, A.Q. Khan trade link, also included Iran. And Iran's centrifuge program has benefited from Pakistani designs.
On the other hand, Pakistan is said to have promised a nuclear umbrella to Iran's rival Saudi Arabia. While this allegation was never proven, it may have stemmed from the history of Pakistan's nuclear program.
We know that Pakistani nuclear program was heavily subsidized by outsiders, financed by outsiders. And we know that one of the deals was actually discovered later on.
That was the deal with Libya, which later abandoned its nuclear program and turned over its equipment to the United States.
If Saudi Arabia also financed Pakistan's nuclear program, it is possible that Saudi Arabia would also demand such a thing from Pakistan.
While there's no concrete evidence of Saudi financing of Pakistan's nuclear weapons program, critics point to ancillary support. After Pakistan tested its nuclear device and was slapped with international sanctions, Saudi Arabia provided it with oil on deferred payments for 3 years and later forgave some of those payments. Saudi Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz was given a tour of Pakistani nuclear facilities in 1999, soon after Pakistan's nuclear test. Pakistan claims he was not shown the weapons program. Awais Laghari heads the Foreign Affairs Committee in Pakistan's National Assembly. He says despite the excellent relationship with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan will not share its nuclear weapons or know-how.
Pakistan can't afford to do that. We're not irresponsible enough to do that. Pakistan's own nuclear program would be at stake, and I'm sure no country can ever convince us of trying to put our own program at stake at all. And we don't believe in such irresponsible actions in the future at all.
Dr. Nair hopes Mr. Laghari is right. He acknowledges that Pakistan's nuclear support to Iran stopped after the AQ Khan network was discovered, and he thinks that the changed international environment may have convinced Pakistan that the cost of nuclear proliferation now is too high. Aisha Tanzeen, VOA News, Islamabad.
Well, Nigeria's recent presidential and parliamentary elections were generally seen as free, fair and credible. However, for some Nigerians, doubts linger about their new president, 72-year-old Muhammadu Buhari, a retired general and former military leader. VOA reporter Ibrahim Ahmed has just returned from northeastern Nigeria, and he joins us to share his experiences while covering the election. Ibrahim, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me, Vincent.
Yes, you're most welcome. And actually, you did travel beyond the northeast of Nigeria. But one thing I wanted you to share with us, how was it just being particularly in the area that has been seriously affected by Boko Haram?
Well, this was an election unlike any other election in Nigeria's history, especially because of the insurgency in the northeast. There was doubt as to whether elections will hold in those areas. But after the 6-week postponement, the military was able to gain some ground in the northeast, and those elections were conducted almost peacefully, except for a few areas in Bauchi and Yobe states.
Yeah, which is sort of different because you've covered these elections before. As you went around the country, what is it that people told you were their main, we know the main concerns, but the priority concerns that they want addressed by the new president?
Well, the main concern everywhere in Nigeria is the issue of security, not only in the north, but also in the southern parts of the country. You have these kidnappings, armed robbery and stuff in the south, while you have the Boko Haram insurgency in the north. So this is the main concern of the people, closely followed by the issue of the economy. There are a lot of people who are unemployed, especially young people, and when you talk to them, what their concern was, how do I get a job? Some have been out of school for like 2-3 years and they're still unemployed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, for some time, one of the campaign lines of Goodluck Jonathan and his people was that Buhari is an old man. Nigeria needs a fresher, younger person.
Yeah.
Talking to people around the country, what did they tell you made them think Buhari at the age 72 would be the kind of president they need now?
Well, his track record, although most of the young people were not around when Buhari was the military ruler, but his track record, this was somebody who had been a president in the country at a time when he could do whatever he wanted to do because, it was a military government. This was a person who held the oil minister's position. Compare that with those who are holding similar positions now, and you see the big difference. This was a guy who lives like a normal person, so to speak, like a commoner, compared to people who live with this kind of flamboyant life.
He doesn't have that.
He doesn't have that.
People, and he has had the opportunities to do that.
He had the opportunity, but people stuck with him because of his honesty.
But some will also want to see action very quickly. What do you think are going to be some of his challenges and perhaps frustration?
I think his main challenge is going to be expectation, because there are a lot of people who were expecting that with electing Buhari, the problems of Nigeria will disappear immediately. That this is going to be a big challenge, especially with the way the economy is now, with the price of oil down. And this issue of security also is a long-term process that needs to be addressed. You can root out Boko Haram from their main bases right now, but dealing with them in the long term is going to take a long time to deal with the issue.
Very quickly, what are some of the interesting things you encountered as you were covering the election that perhaps we didn't get to report on this show and perhaps you didn't get a chance to share with us?
I think it's that particular issue of using the card reader machine. For the first time in Nigeria, you see some states in Nigeria, both from the north and the south. You see, like in the last election in 2011, you see like about 1,500,000 people voting, and this time around, you see only about probably 500,000, 600,000, because this machine was able to make this election credible, was able to make it fair, was able to remove all those issues of multiple votings and ballot box stuffing.
So definitely this is going to be the standard, and perhaps perhaps the country just takes it to another level of improvement. It's definitely going to make a big difference, not only for Nigeria, but for the rest of Africa.
Exactly.
Well, Ibrahim, we do appreciate very much your insights and for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Ibrahim Ahmed is a reporter with Voice of America's Hausa Service. Now, youth unemployment is on the minds of many in Senegal. Africa 54's Mel Bailey takes a closer look at how the problem is affecting the Senegalese society.
The overall unemployment in Senegal is about 42%, and about 13% of them are youths with a degree in higher education. But exactly 0% of them are qualified to work in the nation's professional sector, and the explanation as to why leaves young people with more questions than answers.
We have ambition and we know we have to work, but there is no job availability. Today I can't do anything because I don't know how to do anything, aside from study. What can we really do in reality? We specialize in what we are learning at school, but in real life we don't have a profession. We aren't trained to be professionals. I think that's the largest problem.
For a number of years, Senegal has used its land to help grow its economy, but university students are looking for intellectual avenues to implement their hard-earned degrees. The government says it is actively working on resolving the unemployment issue, but continues to use old solutions to growing problems.
These are the problems, but we need solutions. We need solutions that can take place immediately. Solutions that will bring about results in the midterm, and solutions that will solve problems for the long term. To fix the problem immediately, we must first fix the 42% who aren't qualified to work. We'll find them a place in the agricultural industry.
The students say they need direction on how to prepare for specific professional jobs.
The solution is to accentuate the need for skills, try to show students how to apply for jobs in a professional manner. because to study for 4 or 5 years and then have to go to a professional school to obtain a skill set for a job, it's not something we want to do.
Businessman El Hajj Abu Ghai, president of the National Network of Clubs of the Young Entrepreneurs of Senegal, says that other options should be available for young Senegalese. He says he himself was brought up under similar circumstances, and now he is doing something to change the current situation. The organization has courses available for young people with a good entrepreneurial vision. It offers training courses on how to find business partners and how to market their products to clients. However, he feels the problem is bigger than what his organization alone can fix.
Youth employment is an issue all around the world, I think, and it could be fixed not just by the youth, but by the youth and by the government. We need a very strong relationship between the government, our leaders, and the youth.
With these emerging options, hopefully some of the questions about how to get degreed Senegalese students employed can finally be answered.
Well, that was Africa 54's Mel Bailey reporting from Senegal. Well, Somalia is the only country in recent history to suffer through 2 famines. Despite perceptions, the farming and livestock industries are strong, but political turmoil, clan infighting, and land disputes leave the country's population vulnerable to food insecurity. Abdulaziz Bilo reports from Mogadishu.
After decades of conflict, experts say that the humanitarian crisis in Somalia remains among the worst in the world. UN humanitarian coordinator for Somalia, Filipe Lazzarini, says 3 million people need aid.
740,000 Somali still face acute insecurity, while an additional 2.3 million people are at risk of sliding into the same situation. They are teetering on the edge, and we never know in which direction, the food security of these people will go, which brings the total number of people in need of assistance to 3 million people.
Most areas facing food insecurity are in south-central Somalia. In 2011, the UN estimated that 250,000 Somalis lost their lives in the country's worst famine in 6 decades. Oxfam says the difference between food insecurity and famine comes down to one factor: political failure to act. Despite a dire food situation, Somalia's young government and international donors are acting to improve people's access to food, a second key factor in preventing famine. In the Bai region, arable farmlands have been left bare, with most locals moving to urban areas like Mogadishu, where UN and Turkish aid agencies are assisting them in camps. Food production is the third critical element in preventing famine.
We have been reasonably good rain season, but there have been also some improvement of flow of goods in the south-central region, and we had also a sustained humanitarian response, which certainly has helped to prevent a worsening of the crisis.
In the Lower Shabelle region, one of the major bread baskets of Somalia, farmers have improved output following rains and the exit of the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. For years, Al-Shabaab blocked major supply ways. However, recent military operations by the National Army and African Union forces has reopened these critical routes. And now the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization plans to start buying grains from Somali farmers. UN humanitarian organizations say despite all these improvements, urgent funding is still needed to improve protection of displaced people, provide durable solutions, and strengthen resilience of communities to withstand shocks. Abdulaziz Bilo for VOA News, Mogadishu.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, and welcome intruders upstate U.S. President Barack Obama at the White House. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe makes his first trip to South Africa in 20 years to bolster trade relations. Somalis in Kenya protest against Al-Shabaab, condemning the killing of students in Garissa. In Ethiopia, local farmers show how coffee beans are stimulating the economy and supporting their livelihood. Finally, in Morocco, 2 Spanish cavers die after spending days at the bottom of a deep ravine in the high Atlas Mountains. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending.
Oh, no, it's a bee. That's okay, guys. Bees are good. They won't land on you.
Well, was President Barack Obama upstaged? As he read Where the Wild Things Are, the group of children at the White House, they shrieked, "Oh, no, it's a bee!" And the president shouted, "That is okay, guys. Bees are good. They won't land on you. They won't sting you." When the shrieking continued, Obama chuckled and said, hold on. You guys are wild things. You're not supposed to be scared of bees." Next up, it's a new day for YouTube. Google's Tokyo YouTube team announced a collaboration with a major Japanese film studio to produce ninja and samurai films. Now, this project will allow video bloggers to use the studio's expertise as well as the set at YouTube in Tokyo for free. Now, the collaborative project is for a limited time only and will end in May. YouTube is preparing to celebrate its 10th anniversary this year. Well, and finally, Pakistan Fashion Week closes with a grand finale. The inspiration of this collection was from an ancient Turkish art of carpets. The collection used the combination of print and bronze embroidery, embroidered with tassels and lavish detailing. Other collections were more vintage-inspired, using soft floral prints depicting the image of a sacred garden. At least 30 designers showcased their spring-summer collections during Pakistan Fashion Week 2015. And that is what is trending today. Well, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings, Today Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent.